Climb into the cockpit with pilot and Link Square's Chief Legal Officer, Tim Perilla, as he invites legal leaders aboard to share advice that will help you navigate even the most turbulent times of in-house counsel work. We'll cover a range of topics from data privacy to legal team structure to public company transactions and beyond. You don't want to miss this series. Fasten your seatbelt and prepare for takeoff. You're listening to Cockpit Counsel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Cockpit Counsel. My name's Tim. I'm the Chief Legal Officer at Link Squares. With us, as always, is our producer, Alyssa Brazino. And if you enjoy our content, give us a like, follow on all the socials, and let's get to it. So today we're going to be talking about running legal like a business with Laurie David-Henric, and let's just get right into it. So welcome.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We start out every episode the same way. It is an aviation-themed podcast. So what is your pre-flight ritual?
Oh my God. I like to arrive a lot in advance. I hate being stressed.
Yeah.
And I also like to download all the apps I can to just skip the lines. So
nice.
That's my ritual, making sure that I don't waste my time.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your background. How did you get into your current role? What does your career path look like?
Oh my God, it's been all over the place. Well, I'm a lawyer, so pretty traditional. I started back in France in a law firm, very national, very local, should I even say. I didn't really like it. I really wanted to have a bigger picture. So I changed to in-house, and I actually joined a big multinational company, but they were opening their French office for the first time, and they needed people to help do that. So I joined them, and while I was being lawyery, doing my legal job, I was also involved in the business development and in the day-to-day of building a new office from the ground up.
Nice.
And I love that. All those operational aspects, I really, really enjoy that. And I became very successful at it, so much so that I ended up being the managing director of that French office a few years later.
Oh, nice.
I really enjoyed this part of my life, and it was really fancy as well. You can imagine the Parisian evenings and parties with the client. That was really, really good. But it was kind of not enough in the sense that I knew there was something else I could do. I could be even more into the operations. Mm-hmm. And I wanted something a bit more global even, because I was mostly working cross-border at the time.
Right.
So that's when my employer said, okay, you know what? There is something that you could do. You could lead a brand new project, 1-2 years, but you have to move to Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
So I said yes.
All
Obviously. It was supposed to be just for this very short period of time, but the team I built was so successful in what we delivered that my boss, offered me to build the new function from the ground up. So I ended up building a legal project management function.
Oh, nice.
Global, in the regulatory space at first, and then we touched a few other practice areas. Even non-legal practice areas, by the way.
Yep.
And that gave me visibility over all our business operations. Mm-hmm. And that's where I've realized that a lot of the processes that we were using, internal and external, were completely broken or inefficient. And we were losing money. We were losing opportunities, we were losing people, talents. That was just too bad, and I cannot stand that. So I went to my boss and I said, okay, this is what I see. This is what I think I can do on this specific process, which was around international payments at the time. Mm-hmm. Do you allow me to do on top of my day job a work on that and come to you with a proposal? So he agreed, and I ended up redesigning the process, reducing the budget by 40% and increasing the profitability by 90%.
Nice.
All of that. And by the way, doubling the time zone coverage as well from 12 to 22 time zone coverage.
Okay.
And all of that without any layoff. I even promoted someone actually at the head of the team. So
nice.
That really demonstrates that it's not necessarily a matter of adding up or cutting down. But It's a matter of reshaping your vision, of looking at things from another perspective. And therefore, my boss again offered me to create the function from the ground up. So I did so. I did so for about 1-2 years, and that's when an opportunity came up to join an even bigger company, a Global 500 company, to become the right hand of the general counsel.
Okay.
And so I did so.
Yeah.
I was, well, as he called me, he's a legal COO.
Yeah.
And the team was huge. I mean, it was a team of lawyers, compliance officers, a support staff across the globe, over 1,000 people
Oh my gosh.
in total,
Yeah.
Asia, North America, a tiny bit in Europe.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed that
Yeah.
with the key mandate to optimize the operating model,
Yeah.
starting with the law department, and really identifying efficiencies and implementing kind of solutions to do that. So it was extremely interesting, and yes, that's my most recent role. But now I'm relocating to Europe,
Yeah.
so that's another challenge, I guess, ahead of me, and I cannot wait to see what's next.
That's awesome. That's incredible.
It is.
So how did you find that transition from being more of a traditional lawyer to really focusing on sort of the business of in-house legal departments?
That's a very interesting question. That's actually something that we've discussed a lot with the legal ops professionals we have here at CGI. And the common trait of character that you can really identify is that all of them, well, most of them, if not all of them, are really interested in the bigger picture.
Right.
When you're a lawyer, usually, even when you're a general counsel, you are still kind of specialized, right?
Right.
So that's great, and we do need people doing this kind of work. But when you like to have this very broad strategic vision, this is not a job for you. This was not for me. I like the rigor of law. I like the discipline of it. But I'm much more into looking for efficiencies, looking for how to do things better, faster. And that's just who I am. That's my character. So very often people ask me, okay, what do I need to do? Or what are the traits? What are the characteristics I need to have in my personality to be a good legal ops person? Mm-hmm. And usually the answer is are you in your personal life a data freak?
Right.
Are you in love with organization?
Right.
If yes, then you're going to be great, regardless of your background. This is really what you need to be, I think.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I found to be almost universal with in-house legal teams that are struggling with process is that they don't have strong organizational skills at all. And I think what I've found with most of the lawyers that I've worked with in my career is that the transition between the law firm to the in-house environment has to also be a structured one.
Yes.
Right? Because it's like at the law firm, you have all of this structure. And then a lot of people think coming in-house, like, I have no structure. I can just do whatever I want. Yeah. And then you have a very unorganized situation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So when you think about how to sort of drag your lawyers along with you through this process transformation and the change management, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced and how do you overcome those?
Well, I guess the challenges I've experienced are those that most of us experience, the resistance to change, which is very natural. I don't blame anyone. Change is not easy. It's not natural. So that's absolutely fine. The way that I personally approach change management is that I communicate even when there is no change to manage. So I manage that change without the change to manage by building the trust, building the relationship, being very genuine with my partners within the function, but outside of the function as well, which is something very unique for legal operations people. We do build those bridges outside of the legal function. Right. So I really prioritize that when I join a company or I enter a new role. Legal ops or not, by the way, I did the same in the past. Building this relationship make you come across as genuine when you then come to people saying, okay, by the way, I'm considering doing this change. I need you to support that by making these tiny adjustments in your day-to-day. What do you think about it? Because, and I always make this parallel with real life. When you don't know someone and you just come to this person and say, okay, by the way, what you've been doing for 10, 20 years, I need you to change because I've decided so. So just do it, right? You just don't do that in your life. Try with children. This is not working like this. You really need to build this trust, to build this relationship in order for the change to be accepted in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying that you don't receive resistance as a first response. You have someone who might be a bit more open-minded just because they knew you first.
Right. So when you think about trying to implement those small changes, obviously you want the leadership of the legal team to have buy-in there. What are some of the other key people that you focus on to try to like build those relationships, get buy-in for what you're doing?
So outside the function, my key partners, those I always go to, are IT and architecture, finance, procurement to some extent, depending on what I want to change or implement. If it's tech, usually I go with procurement as well. And I also do a lot of partnership with communication, change management, when you get a chance to have people dedicated to this role, and HR as well.
Yeah.
I think they are overlooked very often, but they are part of the change, and they are here to help and facilitate the change as well.
Yep.
So that's outside of the function. Within the function, obviously you need to have your buy-in from the top anyways, otherwise you can have the best ideas in the world, it's never going to stick.
Right.
But otherwise I would always go very traditionally, to the head of the various teams. And within those teams, I would ask for champions to be identified, people who would be really supportive of the idea of the change, especially when it comes to technology, for instance, or even just a process change. Sometimes that can be enough. You don't necessarily need to have a tech in the first place. Tech is going to scale that up, but you need your process to be very good in the first place. So I would go for those champions who would really be involved in the initial discussions and help us lead the way to the change.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting those external relationships, because legal, almost by its very nature, is dependent upon some sort of external relationship. But then, like, without the rest of the business, there's nothing for legal to legal on, right?
Absolutely.
So, maybe switching gears a little bit and kind of getting to the topic at hand, like running legal like a business. What does that mean to you?
Well, I always think about when I first joined my initial company, my previous company, it was really building everything from the ground up. And the whole strategy behind having a viable business is for me very, very important. And this is what we contribute to as a legal department, as a law department. And this is for me that running legal like a business. We are not a cost center. I hate hearing that. Yeah. This might be the first thing that people see with us, but without us, there is no revenue generated in the first place because there is no product, or at least no compliant product.
Right.
So this is something, we are a key of the strategy, and therefore we are an integrated part of the business, and therefore we need to be run as a business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. I think it also makes the legal team more approachable, and it's less from a personality approachability standpoint. It's more like, you run the same way that I do. Like you run the Link Squares way, or you run the DraftKings way, or whatever it may be, right? And having that continuity across the business helps, because everybody kind of manages the same way. Everyone communicates effectively the same way.
Yeah. That creates a natural balance that people can really identify themselves with.
Yeah.
So that's very important. And from the financial aspect as well, to run the law department as a business is also key, because this is where you find efficiencies as well. So everything is connected. Nothing can be seen in isolation.
Yeah, absolutely. Where that immediately takes me is to data, right? What for you? What are some key metrics that you monitor, and how do you help to contextualize those metrics for the legal team?
There's a lot of metrics.
Yeah,
that all depends on what you're trying to achieve.
Sure.
I guess I can give you an example of a metrics that I really, really wanted to identify, and everybody lawyers included were telling me there's no way we're going to identify that. But so typically in my most recent role, we had zero visibility over what was coming our way from a workload perspective. So I worked with my team and IT and architecture. We worked on creating a legal intake solution, like very basic. But the idea was to collect those KPIs, those metrics that we were in need of. And one of them that I really wanted to collect is how much do we contribute to the revenue when we support this specific project or this specific request. So sometimes this is not something that you can really estimate upfront. But most of the time you can. At least you can get a range of it, right?
Yes.
And this is all we need, because what I wanted to do with these metrics is when the budget discussion starts, say, okay, here it comes. This is how much we have generated, and this is how much you've given us. So now you want to decrease our budget next year by 10%. Fair enough. Where do I cut?
Right. Exactly. What does that do? And what does that do to whether it's a deal timeline or project timelines, things like that?
Yeah.
You immediately are just taking a bunch of value out of the business.
Exactly. And then you have plenty of other metrics, like basic ones like turnaround time. We've heard as lawyers all the time, this is stuck with you, this is stuck with legal, right?
Yeah.
And when you keep track of the life cycle of your document, not necessarily a contract, but just an internal memo, I don't know.
Right.
Then you can really identify that it's not often the case. That might be. I'm not saying it's never the case.
Right.
But a lot of the times, this is on the business side as well, that things are taking a bit more time. So there are a lot of metrics that I like to collect that are really non-traditional, but I think they are making a real impact, and they are giving this all the nuances to the current situation, and that's for me very important to bring those metrics into a context.
Yes.
So I can really tell a story.
Yeah, exactly. Because without that context, the data is usually pretty useless.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense sometimes.
So one thing that you touched on, things being stuck in legal, right? Or legal is taking forever. I don't know what's going on with it. How do you think about communication, like as far as those projects are concerned?
So I think it's a cornerstone. It's cornerstone, really. It's so important that one of the many things that I've created when I joined my most recent role was a communication plan, like an ops communication plan.
Right.
Not an HR, not a company mine.
Yeah.
For my team and for my function.
Right.
And the idea with that was really to build bridges, break down silos as much as possible between regions, practice areas, people, cultures, by showcasing what we do and connecting those legal successes to the bigger picture, to what it means for the business.
Yeah.
So when we get the regulator to accept a new product in, Vietnam, for instance, this is what it means in terms of revenue projection for the company.
Right.
And then communicating on this kind of information and successes and accomplishments really showcases us as a business partner, as a strategic partner to the business, and also boost the egos of our people, which is right,
which is great
because they've done a great job, so they should be acknowledged for that.
That's right, and it gives them a sense of purpose and contribution,
Yes,
as opposed to just doing a never-ending supply of legal work, because it's never-ending.
It is never-ending.
And transitioning a little bit to advice for our listeners. So you spoke about designing a legal ops roadmap when we spoke before. Yeah. Curious if you have any advice for somebody just starting to build out a roadmap.
Take your time. It's not a small task. It's easy to do designing a roadmap when you just think with yourself, but it's unlikely to be impactful or unlikely to align with the actual needs of your partners. So my personal approach, and that's really just mine, I usually take the time to meet with people. I do some kind of a discovery tour, especially when I join a new company, because I don't know the people. I want to understand what it is that bothers you in your day-to-day. What are the solutions that you think could be interesting for you and could ease your life. And then I bring all of that. I usually take a few weeks or even months, depending on the size of the company, to do that. And then I sit down and I don't read my notes. I just put on paper all the key takeaways, everything I have in my head, because for me, it means that's what's the most important, because that's what sticks.
Right.
And then I go back to my notes and I rearrange those 3-4 ideas, my key takeaways, and I rearrange everything in my notes under each.
Mm-hmm.
I look at these various initiatives. I identify how to reach solutions, goals, etc. And then I prioritize in a basic Eisenhower matrix,
Mm-hmm.
And this is what is going to be the basics for my roadmap. And then I time those priorities, and then I put that into a timeline, and that looks like a roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's usually so the most recently I've done it for this global 500 company. So it took me 100 days actually, because this was my goal to deliver
That's awesome.
my roadmap in 100 days. So I delivered 4 actually, because I restructured the team in 4 pillars.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I did one roadmap per pillar, and the 12-month roadmap was foundational. So everything that I needed in order to start building on. And then I had a 5-year vision based on that.
Nice.
I was able to design a few months into the 12-month roadmap.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Do you have any tips for how you prioritize the different things on your roadmap?
It all, again, depends on the organization and the culture and the business goals of the company, and the budget that you have. So usually, I know a lot of people talk about quick wins, and I do think we need to go there 100%. But there are really the short, mid, and long term things that you need to do. So I would always go back to the top, look at the business goals of the company, what it is that the CEO said that he wants to achieve within the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, and I would prioritize. So I would put into perspective my roadmaps, and I would prioritize this way. Say, okay, this is important for legal, but this is not for the company. So how do I bring that into perspective? And depending on the cost as well, that might be easier to prioritize or not. So yeah.
That's a good answer. And what about, so you're obviously a legal ops leader. Do you have advice for somebody that maybe it's their first leadership role, they're building out a team for the first time?
I would recommend to go with your guts. What I mean by that is, we all know that there is no curriculum to become a legal ops professional, and therefore there is no typical background either.
Right.
And if I go back to my own experience, the team that I've built most recently, I had 12 people, and none of them had a legal background. Some of them were clerks or paralegal at the very beginning of their career, but I had someone coming from the social world. I had someone being a pure project manager. So I would recommend not to go into the market with preconceived ideas of what you want, but rather be very detailed in your job description, the must-haves, everything that you want delivered, and then you see which kind of profile comes your way, because you might have someone who's going to surprise you, and that could be a good match, and something that you would not have even envisioned in the first place.
It's a great mindset. Awesome. Well, we end every episode with some rapid fire questions.
Oh my God.
So if you're ready, what is your number one tip for building relationships across the organization?
Be genuine. Be your true self.
What is the best career advice that you've ever given or received?
Be genuine. Be your true self. No, I would say, but that's one I identified for myself. Go for it. Go for any opportunity that you see, even if someone tells you no, even if the door is closed, just, go for it. Or even if nobody has identified the opportunity in the first place, go for it. That's exactly what happened for me. That's how I built my career. That's how I built those, ended up building those functions. Nobody asked me to do it. I just saw an opportunity and I went for it.
Awesome.
Nice. And we close out with asking about any charity or cause that's close to your heart that you want us to amplify and get our users to check out.
Oh, so for personal reasons, I'm very, very supportive of any charity supporting sick children.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally am on the board of an international NGO that is active in the space of global risks and innovation,
Okay.
and that is addressing providing solutions to those big challenges that we are facing as a people and as a planet.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very supportive of that. So the name of the NGO is the Global Center for Risk and Innovation.
Okay.
And I encourage anybody to go and see what they are doing, because I really believe in everything that the scientists are implementing right now.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an incredible conversation.
Thank you.
And good luck with the move back to France, too.
Thank you. Change management.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it for us. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.